Hey all, today we're going to talk more about circles, and we're going to talk about arcs, but in a different way, and we're also going to talk about sectors of circles, which are just parts of the circle. So first let's talk about arc length. We've dealt a lot with the measure of an arc. That's the degree measure of an arc, so how many degrees it covers in the circle. The arc length is different. It's how long it is. So if I look at this green arc and I want to talk about its length, it's not the number of degrees in the arc. It's if I were to cut this circle right here and I flatten out this arc and make it a straight line and I measured it with the ruler, that would be its length. So it's a little bit different than the measure. And the way we find that is by taking the arc measure, so the degree measure of it, and dividing by 360, and that's equal to the arc length, the thing we're looking for, divided by the circumference of the circle. So that's the length of the whole circle. So if I were to cut the circle right here at this point that I highlighted and lay the whole circle out in a straight line and measure it, that would be the circumference. So that looks like this as well. The circumference formula is 2 times pi times the length of the radius. So what we have set up here is a proportion, two fractions that are equal to each other. 360 will know you need to be given the radius and the measure of the arc, and then you can solve for the arc length. And we'll do a few of those now. So here I have a central angle. It's an angle that's at the center of a circle. So that means that this arc in red is the same degree measure. So this arc is 144 degrees. The radius is 11. I can start with my formula. I can plug in what I know. There's my central angle, which is the same as my arc measure. I'll plug in the radius here for r. I'm going to simplify that side. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by 22 pi. I'm not going to multiply yet by pi. So I'm getting my arc length alone. Now I want to first do, my recommendation would be to do 144 divided by 360. You'll get a decimal, then multiply that by 22. That'll give you 8.8. And one thing we do sometimes in geometry is we leave our answers in terms of pi. That means we do all the math up until the point where you would have to multiply by 3.14, and we just stop. And instead of saying, instead of multiplying by 3.14, we just say that it's 8.8 pi long. If we wanted to multiply through, do 8.8 times the pi button, we would get 27.6. And in this case, we're talking about a length, so this would be 27.6 centimeters. I should have written that in there. You can write it. So let's try another one. I have a central angle of 126. That means this red arc is 126 degrees. Now we want to know how long it is in centimeters. I'll start with my formula so that I remember it when I get to a quiz or a test. Plug in 126 for the arc measure, 6 for the radius. Simplify down here on the right to make that 12 pi. I'm not going to multiply yet by pi. I'll wait for the end. Multiply both sides by that 12 pi. In my calculator, I'm going to do 126 divided by 360, then multiply that by 12, and I get 4.2. If I leave it like this, this is in terms of pi. So if I'm asking you to leave in terms of pi, we leave it like this. It's actually 4.2 pi centimeters. And then if I ask you to multiply through, we can multiply 4.2 times pi, and you'll get that the arc length is 13.2 centimeters. So go ahead and pause, try this one, make sure you write the formula, plug in, and find the length of the red arc. So as I said, you want to write the formula, as I say every time. 48 here is our central angle. It's the same as the red arc. So we plug that in for the arc measure. Our radius is 3 inches. Multiply both sides by 6 pi. In your calculator, it's easier if you do 48, divide by 360, and multiply that answer by 6. So in terms of pi, our arc length is 0.8 pi inches. If we want to get rid of the pi and multiply by it, that means our arc length is 2.5 inches. Both of these answers have the same value, they just look different. And the reason sometimes we don't multiply by pi is that we want to avoid getting a really big decimal to round. So the other thing we're going to talk about is the area of a sector of a circle. So if we have an angle at the center of the circle, a central angle, like we have here, and we want to know the area of this piece, so like this slice of the pie, this piece of the pizza, that's what we call a sector, and if we find the area, we're finding the sector area. So it's just part of the whole area of the circle. So our formula is very similar to the arc length formula. We use the arc measure still, 360. This time we're going to do the area of the circle instead of the circumference, because we want to find out what fraction of the whole circle area do we have. And so that looks like this, because the formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. So again, we need the same information, the arc measure and the radius, and we can find the sector area. So here I want the area of this red sector. I'll start with the formula. I'll plug 43 in for my arc measure because it's the same as the central angle. R is 7. I get 49 right here by doing 7 squared, which is 7 times 7. Multiply both sides by 49 pi. Again, 43 divided by 360 times 49. So the area of my sector in terms of pi is 5.85 pi, and since we have meters in its area, it would really be meters squared. And if we multiply by pi, it's 18.4 meters squared. So that's the area of this red slice of the circle. We'll do another one. Again, I want the area of this red piece. I have a central angle again of 111, so that tells me the arc measure. That's going to help me when I plug into the formula that I write first. Plug in 12 for my radius. 12 squared is 12 times 12, which gives me 144 over here. Multiply both sides by 144 pi. Again, in the calculator, 111 divided by 360 times 144. That gives us 44.4. In terms of pi, that's 44.4 pi inches squared. Again, I made the mistake of leaving off the labels here. I apologize for that. But this should be inches squared. And then if we want to multiply through by pi, it's 139.5 inches squared. So I have one for you to try. Find the area of this red part of the circle. So hopefully you start with the formula. Plug 172 in for the arc measure. It's a central angle, so it's the same as the arc. 20 goes in for the radius. 20 squared is 20 times 20, which is 400. We're multiplying both sides by 400 pi. In the calculator, 172 divided by 360 times 400 gets you 191.1 pi inches squared. And then if we want to multiply through, 600.4 inches squared. So 2 you-dos for you to do. I want you to find the length of this red arc, and I want you to find the area of this sector.